In 1829, a traveling tinware salesman from Vermont by the name of Hiram Capron visited this area, known as the Forks of the Grand. When he looked down over this beautiful valley and the rivers, he realized that this would be a perfect place to establish a village. Hi, my name is Wayne Wilkinson. I'm with the Paris Museum and Historical Society. For a number of years, we've run walking tours in town, which have proved to be quite popular. Today, we're going to take you on a tour of the upper town and actually show you inside of some of the buildings. Enjoy the show. For centuries, Aboriginal people inhabited the area now known as Paris, Ontario. The Iroquoian-speaking Attawandaron nation, later called the Neutral Nation by European settlers, was present here. In the early 1800s, white settlers from the United States were impressed by the beautiful valley and the two rivers, now known as the Nith River and the Grand River. During the 1820s, Hiram Capron, the founder of Paris, visited this area on a number of occasions as a traveling tinware salesman. From this vantage point, now called the Lookout, Capron envisioned a village nestled between the two rivers. In 1829, he purchased 1,000 acres, and a year later had this area surveyed and a town plan laid out. The main attraction for this visionary was the abundance of water power available. At that time, the area was called the Forks of the Grand. He changed the name to Paris because of the rich gypsum deposits that would be mined to make plaster of Paris for building interior and exterior walls. Upper Town was where the first retail area was. Lower Town was the location of the mills and later the main business area. Originally, the main business and retail area was laid out along Governor's Road, the first main road that went from Dundas to London. This became known as Paris Upper Town. The Lower Town was where the mill races and mills were. There was constant competition between the mainly English and Scottish people in the Upper Town and the mainly American and Irish settlers in the Lower Town. The water power that Hiram Capron found so appealing proved irresistible as the village grew, and the Lower Town attracted more and more businesses. But in the early days of Paris history, the Upper Town had its heyday. Paris, originally known as the Forks of the Grand, is situated on two rivers. As such, it has always been connected to the rest of the world by bridges. But the bridges in the early days were very different from now. The early bridges were wooden and were built only slightly above the water. This often left the town isolated when spring floods washed the bridges out. In fact, some of the greatest disasters in Paris history are connected to the flooding of the Nith and the Grand Rivers. Present-day Paris has four bridges: the Railway Bridge, the William Street Bridge, the Nith River Bridge, and the High Level Bridge. The first bridge built in Paris was constructed on Governor's Road, also known as Dundas Street, in 1830 by Hiram Capron, 1 year after the town was founded. The first wrought iron bridge to the Upper Town opened in 1877. At that time, the Wrought Iron Company of Canton, Ohio, also built a twin bridge across the Grand River on William Street. The 1877 wrought iron bridge located on Dundas Street in the Upper Town was built level to the east and west banks on high stones and concrete abutments. John Hamill built a toll bridge for pedestrians called the Diamond Bridge in 1834. The bridge was only 2 feet wide, but was 230 feet long. This was Paris' only covered bridge. The origin of the name Diamond Bridge is unknown. In 1898, the village lamplighter fell asleep returning home in the wee hours of the night. but alas, one section of the bridge had collapsed. His horse wound its way through the barricades, but fortunately stopped at the edge of the river. The lamplighter woke up and said later that he stayed awake for the rest of the way home. Governor's Road was surveyed in 1793 by Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe and became the main road between the towns of Dundas and London. Governor's Road ran through what became the upper town of Paris, and many businesses started here. The Paris Star, the paper that still publishes local news today, was originally located where 9 and 11 Dumfries Street are now. In the first 5 years, the fledgling newspaper had 4 owners. By 1895, the Star Transcript was under the ownership of George Featherstone. He lived at 69 Washington Street in a beautiful home. This building on Dundas Street in the upper town of Paris is thought to be Paris' oldest existing building. Built in 1831, like many buildings along Governor's Road, this was a hotel, complete with a livery. Weary travelers came here to rest and to have their horses taken care of. Local people say that the second floor had a ballroom that stretched from the front of the building to the back. Although we don't know what its original name was, for many years it was known as the Paris Inn. Another one of Paris' original hotels in the upper town was the Canadian House at 27 Dumfries Street. Built around 1846 for Thomas Murray, newspaper ads extolled the ample accommodations, the well-stocked bar, and the excellent stables and sheds for horses and buggies. Many businesses of every sort thrived in the upper town in the 1830s, 40s, and 50s. Hugh Finlayson arrived from Scotland in 1836 and built a Georgian-style home. He and a partner owned a saddle and harness business. This was a much-needed business at that time, and by 1845, Finlayson had established a large tannery along the Nith River in the lower town. Finlayson is said to have hosted meetings of the Mechanics' Institute in his stately home. Mechanics' Institutes could be found in many communities, providing books and learning opportunities for men before public libraries started. Hugh Finlayson became Paris' first mayor in 1856 when Paris became a town, and went on to be elected as mayor a total of 3 times. In 1832, a man named Asa Wolverton, originally from Cayuga County, New York, came to Paris. Soon he was a prosperous lumber dealer and contractor and was elected as a councillor on the first town council in 1856. Wolverton bought land on Grand River Street South from town founder Hiram Capron, and this became Paris' first residential area. The home, now known as the Asa Wolverton House, was built circa 1851. Easily seen here is the predominantly Greek Revival architecture. The portico on the front is topped with a triangular pediment, which makes it look a bit like an ancient Greek temple. Low balustrades, or railings, surround the second-story veranda and the Widow's Walk on the roof. The outside of the house is covered in stucco with a layer of plaster of Paris on top. The layout of the building is believed to be unique in Ontario because there is a storeroom, a granary, and a carriage house attached to the south side. Here's something special about the Wolverton House, a cobblestone smokehouse. The original basement kitchen with a working fireplace where servants would have prepared meals remains. A hand-operated elevator took food to and from the kitchen up to the main floor. The pulley system for this is still intact. The second story was originally a ballroom from front to back. The Asa Wolverton House was designated by the former town of Paris, and in 1979 was designated by the province as the Wolverton House after another former owner for its architectural and historical value. The home is presently being restored by its current owners. Sacred Heart Church was built in 1857 and is the second oldest church building in Paris. For many years, Sacred Heart School served the Catholic community in Paris, with nuns serving as teachers. The first school was built on Dundas Street and featured ornate windows and a square tower with louvered openings and gables. Sacred Heart Church is the only cut stone church and is the Gothic Revival style with lots of pointed arches and windows. The use of stone in the tower rather than wood is exceptional. The tower and spire measures 110 feet high from street level. The building is topped with a slate roof, a material used extensively in the 1800s. Later additions were designed by John Turner, who also designed Paris Baptist Church in the Lower Town and other noteworthy buildings such as the Brant County Courthouse. The nave of the church was built first and was designed by local architect John Maxwell. In addition to designing the nave of the church, Maxwell's name is inscribed on a stained glass window that he donated. The wood used inside the church is oak. The vaulted ceiling and beams are walnut. Also easily seen are the octagonal columns and the white marble font. Many people came north from the United States to settle at the Forks of the Grand. One of these settlers was Levi Boughton, who came to Paris in 1838. Boughton was a stonemason from Upper New York State, an area where cobblestone masonry was very popular in the early and mid-1800s. Paris is known as the cobblestone capital of Canada. Levi Boughton worked on a number of cobblestone buildings in the Paris area. His first project was St. James Anglican Church in 1839. St. James was the third church in Paris, but now is the oldest remaining church. It was the nave or central part of the church that was finished with cobblestone in 1839. The chancel, with a Sunday school area in the basement below, was built in 1863 by Turnbull and Thompson. The exterior of the chancel is fieldstone with Gothic arch windows and a leper's window. The parish hall was added in 1929. The walls of the parish hall are red Hamilton brick with Gothic features to complement the church. Inside the church, the windows at the front appear to be the oldest. The brass octagonal-shaped pulpit donated in 1910 is still in use. The brass rail was removed from the front for safety reasons, but was remodeled. The altar and the intricate woodwork were made from quarter-cut oak and were dedicated in 1919. Built into the front of the choir area are jump seats that fold down for junior choir members to sit on. In 1840, the minister at the time, Reverend Morris, had Levi Boughton build him a cobblestone house on Arnold Street. This is the only cobblestone two-story house with bay windows. In 1913, the Tower of St. James was struck by lightning. This damaged one corner of the tower and part of the church bell and blew fuses in the basement. The original wood-clad entrance was replaced in 1989. The stained glass window that had been above the front door was moved to above the new door. In about 1840, a sundial that the people used to set their timepieces was installed on the St. James property. In 1850, before the first town hall was built, the first council had the sexton at St. James ring the bell at 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m., and in case of fire. In 1874, 20 years after the town hall was built, the town council had a bell put in the town hall tower. While St. James is striking in appearance, it was Levi Boughton's first cobblestone project in Paris. If you look closely, you can see that the rows are not as straight and consistent as the stones on his later projects. The land for the Anglican cemetery was purchased in 1876 from Hiram Capron's son, Banfield. The Paris Museum and Historical Society runs spirit tours of the Anglican cemetery, showing the monuments to St. James Rector Adam Townley, who died in 1887, and to the town founder Hiram Capron, as well as his family. In its long history, St. James has been home to many important groups and activities, from scouting groups to their own church choir to entertaining theatrical performances. Paris is known as the cobblestone capital of Canada. Cobblestone was introduced to Paris by Levi Boughton, a stonemason from Upper New York State who came to Paris in 1838. Cobblestone homes and churches, cobblestone walls, foundations, and even a smokehouse can be found throughout Paris. These smooth, water-worn oval stones were left by the last ice age in the two rivers that flow through Paris, the Nith and the Grand. The stones were graded similar to the way eggs are graded, putting stones of similar size and shape together. Due to the weight of the cobblestones, only 1 or 2 rows could be laid per day, so cobblestone construction was very time-consuming and thus expensive. The oldest cobblestone building in Paris is St. James Anglican Church, built in 1839. You will also find 5 cobblestone homes in the upper town. Only one of the cobblestone homes is in the Italianate style, built in 1852. It features a 2-story cobblestone bay. Located on Arnold Street, it was known as the Ouse Lodge, named after the Ouse River, which we now know as the Grand River. In the finer buildings, stonemason Levi Boughton left his mark by meticulously tilting the stones on an angle. This can be seen in the Wolverton House. Another one of Boughton's trademarks was the triangular piece of mortar fashioned between each stone. He also created a V-shaped ridge running horizontally between each course of stones. Although this was time-consuming, it created an eye-pleasing wall. The Wolverton House has less expensive fieldstone on the back walls and the cobblestone on the front facades. This home is known for its curved front corner. Through these large French doors, Dr. Southern ran his medical practice and dispensed drugs. The inside of the home shows the elegance you'd expect from the home of a doctor. The Wolverton House is one of the most outstanding examples of cobblestone in Paris. The cobblestone home overlooking the upper town was originally a Baptist parsonage. A young Alexander Graham Bell stayed in this house with his parents while they were waiting for their home on Tatula Heights in Brantford to be completed. Named Bosworth House after its first owner, the home has cobblestone on the 2 walls facing the street, has smooth lintels above the doors and windows, and has coins in the corners. The porch is original and is in the East Lake style. Building a town hall was an important part of Paris history. It was designed by local architect John Maxwell, and 13 years before Confederation was completed in 1854. The town hall was much more than a municipal building. It was the heart of all social and political activity and was a focal point for the community. Thus, it was located in the center of the upper town in Paris. The town hall is in the Gothic Revival style, a style that was usually used for churches. Indeed, on our walking tours, this magnificent building with the octagonal buttresses and medieval windows is often mistaken for a church. The Paris Old Town Hall is very significant for two reasons. First, it is the oldest civic building in Canada. No other village, town, or city hall in Canada is older. Secondly, the town hall is internationally significant because it is a very early example of the Gothic Revival style being used in a civic building. On the main floor were the council chambers and offices for the magistrate and treasurer. Town hall meetings were also conducted here. In the basement, the town's rowdies and drunks were kept because it was here that the dark, dank town jail cells were located. You would think one night spent down here would be quite a deterrent to be reoffending. The town hall was also the location of the market. It was here that the first Paris exhibitions were held, which developed into what is now the hugely popular Paris Fair. The open timber roof and vaulted ceiling are among the most stunning features of the old town hall. The second story, complete with a stage, was the location of the assembly room, sometimes called the Opera House. Local and traveling entertainers would perform music, plays, and vaudeville here. Even Paris' first movie picture was shown here. Above the foundation, the town hall is constructed of brick with stone dressings. Molded bricks frame the doorways and windows. Wood was used for the tracery in the pointed Gothic Revival windows. Unfortunately, they are now deteriorating. The corners of the building were designed with stepped angular buttresses topped with stone pinnacles. Other corners featured octagonal buttresses. In 1874, a bell weighing over 1,200 pounds was purchased for $500 and took its place in the tower of the town hall. The bell is now located in downtown Paris. In 1903, the town moved their municipal offices to Grand River Street North in the lower town. Charles and Chester Wheeler, owners of the Wheeler Needleworks, purchased the town hall building in 1917. During World War II, the Needleworks turned over its production to the war effort. Eventually, the Mary Maxim Company bought the building and made additions to the back. The Paris Old Town Hall has been home to an antique business for many years. Since 2009, it has been for sale. Local heritage volunteers are working to find a new owner so that this important and unique part of Paris history will be preserved for the future. We hope you enjoyed our show today. Please join us soon at the Paris Museum or on one of our popular walking tours this summer. Hope to see you soon.